Welcome to the Englishbox. Today we're starting a new line of videos entitled Comparing Languages. In these videos we pit two languages against each other and we discuss the differences and some of the subtleties that people discover when they're learning a new language. The two languages for today are Spanish and English. Now, I lived in Spain between the years of 2006 and 2008, and I tried my very best to learn the language, sometimes with success and sometimes without so much success. So we're going to start off by asking a very simple question. What does Spanish do better than English? Now, number one, the most important, I think, is swearing. Swearing in Spanish is very easy. There are some fantastic swear words, extremely strong. I was introduced to this very, very early in my time in Spain. I remember I was crossing the road. I'd been there for about 2 months or so, and there was a father and a son also crossing the road. The son was dawdling a little bit. He was walking quite slowly, and the father turned round and he said, "Coño, date prisa." And to me, this sounded extremely strong, and I could never imagine an English person or an American person or whatever treating their kid or talking to their child in this way. And I'm not even going to translate it into English because it's so strong. There are lots and lots of other examples, and if you know anything about Spanish or if you are Spanish, I'm sure you can think of loads. Number two and number three, excitement and surprise and the rhythm of the language very much go hand in hand. I feel that when an English person hears something quite surprising or exciting, they often react in quite a withheld way. Obviously, this isn't only because of the language, but I think the rhythm of the language in Spanish, in some ways, is a lot more conducive to this expressing this excitement and surprise. Want and desire. This relates to a particular grammar point, in fact. I like the way in Spanish you can use the subjunctive tense to really describe or to express the idea of want and desire. Basically, in Spanish, if you have a verb like to need or necesitar, or if you have another verb like to want, querer, or something like that, and you want someone to do something or you need someone to do something, you only have to change the form of the following verb. So, for example, if you take the verb hacer, to do, normally you'd say haces is you do, but if you want someone to do something, you can say que hagas algo. And this expression, it almost sounds stronger than the imperative to if I say do something, and then you have this other form of I want you to do something, que hagas algo. And I think it expresses it a little bit more succinctly, a little bit more concisely, perhaps, than English. So moving on, what does English do better than Spanish? The wonderful thing about English is the flexibility of the word usage. You can use nouns as verbs, you can play with the language, and this is a little bit more difficult in Spanish, perhaps because of the conjugations that are required for each of the verbs. So much as Shakespeare did when he said to table a motion and to chair a meeting, then these expressions can be used, these nouns can be used as a verb, and this gives the language a lot of flexibility. A popular one on the streets of Britain at the moment, to bottle someone, to take a bottle and to hit the person over the head with it. And I guess de boteo in Spanish doesn't really make sense. So in this way, I think English has a bit more flexibility. Idiomatic usage, debatable perhaps, but I think the English use idioms in everyday language more than the Spanish, and more so than in Germany as well, I feel. That's a point for debate, though. More tolerant of mistakes. I believe both Germany and Spain have a kind of governmental board for the language, and this board is responsible for deciding whether new words are allowed to enter the language and into common usage. Generally in English is so broadly spoken and so many people speak it as a second language. I think we're more perhaps acquainted or more used to hearing people making mistakes and a little bit more tolerant of it. And we're also more tolerant of new words coming into the language. I mean, historically, I suppose English is a language that is a kind of hodgepodge of other different languages. So yeah, tolerance with regard to the language is another point. And number 4, we have words that sound like they are, which is an advantage, and not how they're spelt, which is obviously a disadvantage for those learning the language, and an advantage if you have a particularly gifted child in a spelling bee competition. Words sound like they are. What do I mean? This is like onomatopoeia. So if I pick up a glass in my hand, unfortunately I don't have a glass here now, and I throw it at the wall, then in English it smashes or it cracks. And these words really conjure up the notion or the image of these things happening. The same if water washes against the shore. The sh sound on wash is like the sh of the sea. And I find that English has this onomatopoeic value. So the word sounds like it is, like the actual action it's describing. And Spanish rarely has this. Some words like aplastar, I think, for example, sounds like the action, but generally a lot of the verbs sound a little bit softer than the action, or they don't really conjure up the notion of this action. And for this reason, I think sometimes speakers of Germanic languages, such as English and German, find it a little bit more difficult to really associate themselves, or to find the associations between the words and the actions. It may be a little bit more difficult to remember. Okay, so that's the end. I just wanted to kind of convey and talk about those few points. It would be great if you could post a video or write some comments. Let us know what you think, if you agree with me, disagree with me, if you have any other points. So yeah, thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a video, as I said, and feel free to come and visit us at www.englishbox.co.uk as well. So, see you next time. Bye bye.